I just want to start out by a quick apology. Apparently, the sound quality of the last podcast, wasn't great for the Monday monologue. And I apologize, but also don't, because due to the nature of this format is I'm going to record these on the fly, and I'm not always going to have the best equipment. But no excuses. I will figure out how to make it better for next time. Hopefully this time. Which kind of brings me to the topic of today's Monday monologue. And that is setting standards. I was thinking about it at the gym this morning as I was working out. We were doing push-ups and stuff. And I just thought that a push-up was a push-up. I used to think that. Until I realized, someone explained to me, this is what a push-up looks like. And your chest touches the ground and your elbows lock out at the top. I'm like, oh, that makes a push-up so much more difficult. Which, like I said, this is the topic, is that we're setting standards. And for most of my life, I just figured I had the same attitude, right? However I want it to look, whatever I want it to be, that's good enough for me. And the truth is that in every area of life, in every sphere of life, there are standards that we are supposed to live up to. Whether that's being a good employee, a good husband, a good father, working out in the gym, being healthy, all of these things, there is a standard for the way we're supposed to live our lives. And for me, it took me until about the age of 40. Up until then, I just kept telling myself, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing good as a father. I'm doing good as a husband. I'm doing good as an employee. I'm doing good at whatever it is that I think I'm doing. But the truth was that I wasn't. I just thought I was, because I had my own internal standard that I thought was good. And most of the time, I'm not talking about everybody, but most of us, our standards for ourselves are subjective. And so we can think that we're doing good. But the truth is we're not. And we measure ourselves to an objective standard. Most of us fall short. And a lot of times it's because no one has shown us, or we haven't sought that out. So, there are times, what you really don't want to have happen is to have someone constantly have to remind you of the standard. When you start a job, your boss will show you and tell you the standard, hopefully. And so you should naturally try to live by that standard. But most of the time, we start to slip. And it takes a little gentle reminder. Hopefully it's never more than a gentle reminder. Be like, hey, this is what you need to do. But if you're constantly having to be reminded of the standard, then you're probably missing something somewhere. And here's a little, maybe a harsh reality, is that it's not just our jobs where we have standards, but every area of our life we should be trying to live by some kind of a standard. And that's not what we think is a good standard. That's what other people think are a good standard. A reasonable group of people, right? And so sometimes it takes someone having to hold up a mirror. A mirror has to be put in front of us. And maybe that mirror is, we wake up one morning and we look in the mirror in our bathroom and we realize that we are horribly out of shape. That we look like crap and that we're unhealthy. Sometimes it's going to the doctor and the doctor says, you have heart disease. You have diabetes. Whatever it is, that's a mirror. Sometimes it's job performance, and our boss comes to us and says, hey, you're not doing what you need to do, right? Sometimes, and one can be a real kick to the nuts, is when it's your kid's behavior and you see your kid misbehaving in school or wherever it is that they are, right? And you realize that that kid is learning from you. And you have not set the standard for that kid. You have not set the standard as a father. And that kid is now a mirror of your behavior. Sometimes it's your marriage, right? And your marriage isn't going well. Well, that is a mirror. That is a reflection of standards that you have let go, right? And sometimes we need to seek that out and go to someone other than ourselves to find out what that standard looks like. Maybe it's another man who has a great marriage, or a great father, or a mentor, or someone to show us what the standard looks like. And so we've seen that reflection now in the mirror, and now it's time to take action. And it's not just time to take whatever action we think, right? We need to find a standard to live by. I choose to live by the Bible, and I think that is the ultimate standard for morality and things like that. But there are standards in other areas of life too, like the way we're supposed to eat, right? I was fat most of my life, and that used to be hard for me to say, is that I was fat. But the truth is, objectively, I was. I don't believe in all of this fat affirming stuff. Like, if you're fat, you're fat. If you're obese, you're unhealthy, right? And we can say that we need to eat better. We can think we need to eat better. And we can just say, oh yeah, I'm going to eat better. Well, what does that mean? And I tried different things, and I thought that I was, I would lose a little weight, gain a little weight, lose a little weight, gain a little weight. But it wasn't until I went to somebody and said, hey, coach me, teach me what this looks like. And I got put on a nutrition plan, and they said, we're going to measure you. You're going to track all of your calories. You're going to eat more protein, and you're going to hit this certain macro level. And you're going to enter in your food, and we're going to track it, and we're going to watch it, and we're going to watch your results, and we're going to tweak things. And it wasn't until I had that level of accountability where that standard was set in front of me where I started to actually get results. And I lost 50 pounds, 60 pounds, and I was in the best shape of my life. And I was like, oh, this is what it looks like. This is what the standard is. It's not what I think. It's not what just some Joe Blow down the street thinks. Here's this expert. Here's this person who has training and expertise, who has lived by a standard themselves, that is showing me and teaching me how to do this. Okay, that's how you get results. Is you don't follow sometimes most of us think we can set a standard, but the truth is that there's a very few people who will set a high enough standard for themselves. Most of us and most people should look to find a standard that can be set by other people, at least until we learn how to do it. See, now here I am a couple years later. I'm still in pretty decent shape, but I know how I should eat. I know what I should be doing. I know what I should be tracking. I know how to do it, right? Because I sought out another standard, right? And I know that for me, my tendency is to start to cheat those little things. To start to cheat the way I do a push-up. To cheat the way I do certain reps in the gym. To cheat my behavior at the office. Or I'm not a husband or a father at this point, but I did plenty of cheating, and that's how I ended up where I am. I did plenty of cheating in my role and my relationship as a husband and a father. And eventually, for most of us, our standards aren't going to naturally go up. Most of us, our standards are going to naturally degrade over time. And every once in a while, like I said, you're going to have that mirror come up in front of you. Well, I had a really big mirror that came up in front of me when I lost everything, right? That was a big old mirror, and it still took some time for me to realize, oh, I gotta live by some standards, right? But the thing is that like we start to degrade those standards, and a lot of times no one's going to be watching. A lot of times no one's going to be checking on us with some things, but eventually those mirrors come up, right? And so we do have to learn how to be self-checking with our standards. And that takes time, and that takes practice, and it takes an uncompromising attitude and a willing to push yourself beyond what you used to think was comfortable. And I've learned to do, I'm not perfect at it, but I've gotten a lot better about that. And so that's a really big lesson. And one more thought, and that about standards is that very often as we start to cheat and we start to tell ourselves that things are okay, that it's okay. Oh, I'm going to get up at the gym at 5 a.m. And then we wake up and we're like, I'm tired. I'm sore. I'll just skip it. I'll just go tonight, or I'll just go later today or tomorrow or whatever. I'm going to get some extra sleep because I need it. Well, we just broke a commitment to ourselves. We set a standard that we wanted to hit, and then we broke it. We broke that commitment to ourselves. And so that makes it easier the next time to not do that thing that we commit to ourselves to do. And over time, that degrades the trust that we have in the person that we need to trust the most. And that person that we need to trust the most is ourselves. And when we constantly break those commitments to ourselves, and when we constantly don't keep those commitments that we make to ourselves, we are breaking our own trust in ourselves. But when we get up and we do things, no matter what, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's reading our Bible every day, whether or not it's spending specific amounts of time with our kids, or pouring into certain relationships, or doing certain things that are not necessarily what you would say mandatory, right? When we are constantly compromising on those little things, eventually it leads to compromising on the big things. So we we don't trust ourselves. And then when we make a commitment to ourselves or other people, we don't even expect ourselves to follow through. And that's terrible. That is a terrible way to live. And I lived most of my life that way, where I knew that, hey, if I decide I'm going to do this, and I wake up and I realize, it's not a good day for that. It's just not great. I'd rather do this. I would just make the decision to compromise. And so it was one compromise after another, until I compromised right out of my way, right out of the American dream, like I talked about in my story this last week. So, set some standards for yourself. Keep those standards, no matter what. And if you need help setting those standards, seek out somebody who has a life that looks like the life that you want to live. Whether that's their physical condition, whether that's their financial position, whether or not that's their position in the community, in the church, in their family, as a husband, as a father. Seek out somebody whose standards are higher than yours and ask them for help. And then be willing to accept it. And then learn how to hold up a mirror in front of your own face to assess those standards, rather than waiting for someone else to have to do it for you. Okay, that's my Monday morning rant. That's my Monday monologue. I hope you got something out of it, because, well, whether you did or not, this is a standard that I set for myself, that I'm going to do this. And so I hope you benefit from it, because I know I have.